Testing, testing.
I didn't see another sheet back there.
Yeah, I parked it on the front row.
Okay.
Somebody had my spot. Dang it.
Good evening. I hereby call this agenda review meeting of Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that the quorum is present and notice of this meeting was posted according to Texas Open Meeting Act. All members are present, and I believe Reverend Pitcock should be here in any minute. Today, all items on the agenda are for discussion only. No voting takes place at this meeting. Thank you for your joining us, and ask to please turn your cell phone to the silent mode. At this time, we are in the public comments, and we have not received any request to address the board. However, those who are interested to address the board in the future, instructions are included of a meeting notice, which is posted normally 72 hours in advance. Okay. At this time, we move to consent agenda. This portion of the meeting, we will discuss items from the consent agenda. No action was taken at this meeting. We start with the board meeting minutes from month of January. Board members, are there any questions or comments concerning what? If not, we move on to the business office report, and Mr. Ben Everland, our Chief Financial Officer, would be the presenter.
Today I'm over here. Does this work?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, board, Dr. Rio. So we're going to start with our budget amendments. We only have two budget amendments today. The first one, which is item A, is going to be our regular transfers between functions. So moving from function 12 to function 11, 13, and 36 in the grand amount of $3,669. And the second one is going to be item B, which is to, if you approve, pull funds from fund balance for the Fredonia Playground construction project.
I think that would be discussed toward the end of this meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions, folks? Okay, next we move to investment report.
Donations under 25.
I'm sorry, I checked it out already. Okay, donations under 2,500.
Yes, sir. So our donations under 2,500, athletics receive $1,930 from the Nacogdoches Dragon Athletic Swim Booster Club for TISCA, meal money and entry fees. Nacogdoches High School received $100 from Loblolly Properties for one-act play, $100 from Vardaman Eye Associates for theater, $25 from Greg and Leah Frist for theater, $150 from CBTX for Dragon SRT for equipment and competition, $200 from Christ the Savior Orthodox Church for ROTC, and $500 from King Vision LLC for ROTC. Teaching and Learning Department received a fireplace from Lowe's in Lufkin for our professional development training building for teachers and staff, and a refrigerator from Lowe's in Lufkin for PD training building for teachers and staff as well. Our social workers received gift cards, jackets, and blankets from Angela Campbell for our students.
Great. Thank you, sir. Now we move to investment reports.
Yes, sir. So this is just our standard investment report. You can see all of our investments for the general and debt service fund and the bond fund as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Okay. Miscellaneous business office report is next.
Yes, sir. That's just going to be all of our standard reports that we have every month. The bank rec is in there. Summary of revenues and expenditures for all funds. Summary expenditure status report for just the general fund. Check register by date and vendor. And the tax collection report is not in there this month.
Okay.
I have a question about the check registry. I really don't like the word miscellaneous, and I've had to live with it. And it's not that I don't trust, but I just am nosy. And there are people in the public who don't trust. And they want to make sure that I'm looking, and anyway. So I had a question. What really bothers me are the miscellaneous operating expenses and miscellaneous contracted services if the check is several $100s or more, and to an individual's name. So, have you looked up these people for me, and just so I can make it, and then if we do it again, I'll know, oh, this is legitimate. I had a question about Benna McDonald on January 14th, miscellaneous operating expense for $350.
Yes, ma'am. So I looked up the transaction, and it's coded to Miss Benna McDonald. That's who the check is made out to. But she works on behalf of Loving Heart CTC,
Okay.
which is they do our alignment for our nurses.
Oh.
So they come in and make sure that everybody's certified and things like that, and do any trainings necessary to bring our nursing staff up to speed.
Okay, great. Now, the other one is the miscellaneous contracted services. Kim is the last name.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am. So Mr. or Mrs. Kim, I'm not sure which, they are doing contracted services for our band program, and they are an accompanist.
Okay.
Yeah, for our students for the piano. So doing lessons for our students on the piano and stuff like that.
Okay, I apologize.
I think
should know
they
that
also
name.
do accompaniment at solo and ensemble contest.
And concerts.
So they're helping with the UIL training
Yeah.
and stuff?
Well, like if a soloist is playing the flute, they need a piano
Yeah, yeah.
accompaniment, so she would,
Right.
they provide that.
They
That's
also
part of
play
it.
with the choir. With the choir.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes,
More
ma'am.
questions?
President Fashid and Board, I just want to make sure, for any concerned citizen out there in the community wondering about miscellaneous charges, we do not write checks and just send them out to the community. Every individual that does business with NISD must be an approved vendor. There is a process for them to submit, and it's an approval process. And we do deny based on those approvals. We also make very clear about any nepotism or any relationship we have with current employees or staff members. So I want to dispel anything out there in the community that they're worried about miscellaneous. I can't speak to the past, but I can speak to what we do now with Nacogdoches ISD. So I'm real proud of the relationships that we have, but I wanted to clarify that we do have a very strong vetting process in purchasing in your department, so I'm proud of the work that the ladies do down there, and I'm glad that the board's asking these questions because they're being asked. But I just want to make sure that as the board responds, they also hear from myself about our process that we have. So thank you so much for the report. And Libet, thank you for the question.
Okay, then we move into purchase over $50,000, which is Blue Bonnet Learning, and Dr. Jolene Curley would be presenting. Am I correct?
Sorry, I think we got one more, gifts and donations.
Over
No.
2,500.
Okay.
Is it after?
Just to clarify, that's below that.
I
on my
apologize, I'm
list.
so sorry, I had it on my bookmarks.
Okay. Son Reverend reminds me, I want to make sure I follow.
Good afternoon. This purchase is for the state-developed instructional materials called Bluebonnet Learning for kindergarten through fifth grade language arts and kindergarten through Algebra 1 math. House Bill 1605 changed how instructional materials are adopted and funded in Texas. The review of instructional materials is conducted by the State Board of Educators with additional funding sources. The expenditures include math K through Algebra 1 at $260,933, and K through 5 English language arts at $217,335, totaling $478,268. This purchase is very comprehensive. It includes teacher guides, teacher support materials, elementary collection books, and elementary manipulatives, as well as a one-year purchase of student consumables. This is an approach that's an integrated approach that includes instructional materials for handwriting, foundational skills, reading comprehension, language comprehension, as well as spelling and writing.
Dr. Curley, this is formerly known as Amplify and high-quality instruction. Are the teachers have also to learn anything new for the teachers, or they just?
That's a great question, President Nurman. Beginning last spring, we started a pilot process where we implemented K-1 Amplify, English language arts and Spanish language arts. That provided our teachers and our campus administrators to become familiar with the resource that had been available as part of the COVID emergency response materials in 2020 and 2021. So we wrote out this implementation plan last spring. It was very comprehensive. We followed a trainer of training models, and we consulted with our Region 7 Education Service Center to make sure that these supports were in place for our teachers to have viewing of product materials beforehand, so they would understand all the different components that they would have access to. And then throughout the school year, we've partnered with Region 7, and they have provided coaching and internalization trainings for our teachers that helps them understand what they need to be prepared for before they go into the classroom. So to answer the question about how much learning does it take our teachers for the Bluebonnet Learning instructional materials, the what and the how is provided by the state. They're telling us this is the science of teaching. Therefore, it gives the teachers the autonomy to really focus on the art of teaching, how I'm going to engage my students, and what activities we will be doing in class. So it really streamlines what the teachers will be doing in preparation.
Just curiosity, do they, in college, do they teach those incoming teachers or future teachers this kind of topics?
Not this particular curriculum, no. They're not going to go to that granular point because campuses or districts use different kinds of curriculum. The one thing I can tell you, President Fashid and board, is there is a list of HQIM, and this one is the one that's been designed by Texas Education Agency. It meets the specifications that they've provided to meet all of that. And the wonderful thing is, because we are, it was amplified before, a national curriculum, what we needed to make sure is that a national curriculum, Common Core was all through it. It was written from coast to coast. So what they've done during that time is actually vetted, created it, and aligned it to the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills so that we can meet the instructional needs that we hear. But also, they've dovetailed themselves to the science of reading. But most importantly is looking at research-based for instructional purposes. That's the excitement when you go with this. The wonderful thing about this process is if the state is designing it, I'm not saying it's the best ever, okay? Because they'll adjust and they'll accommodate. But here's the key. The state is actually paying us a portion to use this curriculum. So if we went with any other list, any other HQIM that's out there, then there possibly might be a cost to it. Now, all these other curriculums, they are aligning themselves to the state. And once they align themselves fully to the state on the HQIM model, then they will probably be able to be adopted by school districts. So where you're seeing across the literature is everybody aligning themselves to the expectation that the commissioners put in place with HQIM. So that's exciting in one port, but I also think the funding side of it works for it. There's a printing side of it that if we need to get anything that's printed, we don't print it in-house. We send it to another service center. It's a great relationship for our folks, but I commend Dr. Corley, you and the department, Dr. Hill. I love the work that y'all been doing, all with your departments in preparing our folks for this the shift, so.
Why did they change the name from Amplify? So we know that it's been updated or something?
Let me answer that question. Here's why they changed it. Amplify has a national connotation to it.
Okay.
It has a national standard, and they were not going to align themselves as rigorously as they needed to for the state of Texas. Why do I need to adjust myself if we're a national program?
Yeah.
So what we basically did, I'd say we, I had nothing to do with it, Texas Education Agency went out there and said, you know what, we like Amplify, so they bought it. And they brought it into the state of Texas, and then they had to rename it. What's greater name than Blue Bonnet for the state of Texas? Now, Amplify that's out there, they may create, that entity may create another curriculum. But as far as the Amplify that they had, Texas purchased it, and they renamed it, and they rewrote it. Actually, math is what program? It was Eureka and Carnegie. And so now all of that has been actually wrapped into Blue Bonnet, and there's phases that you'll see that the teachers will be prepared for that. So, but I'm gonna let you extend any more, because I only know that 30,000-foot view of where it is, and you know a little more granular with it. So feel free to share with the board.
The only thing I was going to say, to add on to what Dr. Trujillo said, was that they're calling it the Texas Edition 1. And that just verifies that it's aligned with our state standards, and it's going to provide rigorous instruction for our students.
I do know, based on what you were just explaining before Ms. App's last question, the HQIM, when it says in the, how we're paying for this, it says from the SBOE approved instructional materials entitlement. So are we writing a check for that?
It actually comes out, the state gets an allotment, each district gets an allotment, a textbook allotment. It's actually textbook and technology. And so you get an allotment from the state that says this is what you'll use for your textbooks.
Okay.
And so that allotment that we get from the state actually goes that direction. What's wonderful is the state is saying, I don't know the exact amount, it's like, is it $40?
$40.
$60?
Yes, sir, total of $60 per year per student.
Year. So of that, we get returned that amount, or it'll cost us that amount. And then it gives us a little bit more room to do the things on the onboarding, a lot of the trainings, and things that we do with the service center. A great partner with us has been the Education Service Center, Region 7. And very soon, when we have our staff development centers designed and finalized here in Nacogdoches, we will be hosting some of those trainings here in Nacogdoches for a lot of our surrounding districts that may be doing this as well. So we're linking that partnership really strong. So.
I actually had to write out what I want to say, because I vented at the family dinner yesterday. Because Lufkin, didn't approve, they didn't want this adoption, and there's that controversy about the fact that it has Bible stories in it, so I went online and looked at all that, and I want to say at the outset, I don't think that controversy, I'm not getting a feel that controversy is here. I've heard from no parents whatsoever that they don't like the idea that this state written curriculum has Bible stories in it. And they don't seem to fear that we're going to turn them all into Christians, which personally wouldn't be my opinion. But anyway, so that I don't vent, and then I promise I'm not going to say any more today. I wanted to address why I think this would be good curriculum. First of all, my understanding is that not only is it going to be great financially, but because the state put it together and they know the test, they have written the instructional material and they present things in such a way that it should help our students prepare for the STAR test. That's my understanding. Okay. Now, this is just from personal experience, because there may be people I didn't hear from, but I know them well enough to know that they are fuming to think that we're going to have Bible stories in the classroom. So I want to address, though, this first topic, that it will help in the test. There is a difference between acquiring skills and knowledge and taking a test. It is proven that understanding how to take a particular test increases scores. That's why many schools still offer a SAT class or SAT tutoring. Not because they intend to teach the content tested on SAT, rather understanding the test format and how it is graded will improve the test taker's performance, it's proven. It is my understanding that this curriculum gives instructions, supplementary work, and use of vocabulary that will help the teacher prepare students for success when being tested over particular skills, or RTEs, which are required in each particular subject of study. Back in the olden days, we did for tax and TOS and all that, we had a boot camp. We had taught the curriculum, we had given the knowledge, but we spent 1 week before we gave the test to teach the test. And we saw immediate results in our scores when we started doing that. Now, the tests have changed drastically. You can't do that anymore. Now, I would also like to address any concerns out there who are not liking this idea that we're going to have Bible stories in the classroom. I understand that along with Bible stories, there are reading selections from all world religions. So it's not that they're just going to push Christianity. Now, the argument that there are more examples of Bible stories than other religions forgets that our culture, North America, is overwhelmingly Western civilization in orientation. And that means the roots of our literature and philosophy reach deeply into the Greeks and Judeo-Christian heritage. If our students are to succeed, they must have knowledge of biblical literature. Now, I'm speaking from experience. Your secondary history and literature teachers are sorely handicapped when the lesson they are teaching alludes to the Bible, because few, if any, students have ever heard of these references. This is not only in teaching something like, 18th century British or American literature, but more modern literature. Or if a history teacher is adding to Martin Luther King Jr.'s very famous, I have a dream speech. There's a lot of biblical allusion in that, and it just goes over the student's head. Now, you can point it out to them, and you can even, if you have the time, briefly fill them in, but it's not like they come with the knowledge. Now, I taught the highly popular dystopian novel. This is modern, Fahrenheit 451. There were half a dozen references to the Bible, but more importantly, more than that, allusions to the Bible, which means it was making a comparison to a Bible story, and most of these stories were considered, what a child would have heard, like Noah's Ark. And because it's an allusion, it is elaborating on the comparison of what Bradbury was trying to make in his story to this so-called well-known Bible story. I taught pre-advanced placement sophomores. That means I taught the top 10% of the graduating for that class, those students. And out of that, I averaged maybe 5% who knew the Bible stories. I was shocked. And these are kids that a lot of them go to church, but they did not know and definitely didn't recognize a Bible story allusion. So, I want to say this very firmly. The Bible in the classroom is not teaching religion. It is laying a foundation for understanding Western civilization's liberal arts.
Good.
I'd like to say something, Dr. Corley. I think that you and all the people that work in curriculum are very important, and I want to offer you a gold star. But it's a procedural gold star, because when you come to us early, like February, and you say, we need these books and we need this money, well, by the end of this week, you'll have the money, and then more quickly you'll have the books. And procedural is really important because if we have all the books for all the students and all the teachers earlier, it's going to lead to less stress for you and for our teachers and therefore for our students. So we appreciate y'all getting this done, prioritizing it, bringing it to us, let us approve it, and move forward so that we can do even greater things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Groman. I have to say I have an amazing team of content coordinators and campus administrators and supervisors that all work very hard together to make this happen.
Thank you.
President Fashid, just if I may, just want to make sure that it's clear, this is not I agree with what Ms. Apt is saying, but in order to understand Bluebonnet, there are portions of a portion of the Bible that is coming into the curriculum, and it's minimal. It's extremely minimal. And when it is, it also is vetted by the scope and sequence, the blueprint, and the instruction that we're doing. So whatever we touch on, we've got a group of wonderful folks in district as we're addressing the curriculum. So I want to make sure that parents understand, this is not Sunday school, okay? This is a full-fledged curriculum that's been written in partnership with educators that have gone to Austin. They vetted it, as well as the curriculum department. I will tell you, just be prepared. This curriculum will have some opposition at the state level, from the ACLU to any and all our groups that are out there, but it's because of the individual references they bring in that is there. If they were paying attention, they would have filed these grievances years ago in the high school literature classes, because the high school literature classes, they've had it embedded for years, but now you're seeing it embedded in the curriculum from the young ones all the way up through middle school and high school. So just want to make sure to point that out, that it meets the criteria for the HQIM. So.
Okay. Any more comments?
We don't have enough time.
Okay. Now we move to donations over 2,500.
I'm back. President Nirman, Board of Trustees, Dr. Trio. Now we're going to go over our gifts and donations over $2,500. Athletics received $3,869 from the Nacogdoches Dragon Athletic Baseball Booster Club for jerseys, pants, and belts. $3,369.52 from the Nacogdoches Dragon Athletic Golf Booster Club for a golf simulator. $7,787 from the Nacogdoches Dragon Athletic Booster Club for all sports to purchase hoodies, tees, and shorts. Nacogdoches High School received $5,000 from Batters Law Firm for Dragon SRT for equipment and competition. And Nacogdoches ISD had the honor of painting the interior of Teaching and Learning Center for Engagement by Timber Creek Church. So thank you to Timber Creek Church.
Quick question, what is SRT?
I asked that question before we started. Dr. Hill, what is SRT?
It's our police department.
Oh, Mr. Lucina, SRT.
Come on up to the microphone, Ms. Lucina.
sir.
You've got
Sorry, I
to
just
hear you.
have no idea what it is.
Sean knows.
Well, that was
Let them know how many did well this competition time, too. It's a good time.
Well, good afternoon, School Board, President Nirmand, Dr. Trujillo. So SRT is, it's kind of like what they teach procedures for SWAT team. It's a special response team.
Oh.
And so it's taught in our law enforcement pathway. And so you'll hear a lot about that at this coming board meeting, about the competitions that they're going to be going to.
Okay.
Really, really great turnout and results for TEPSA, it's the Texas Public Service Association. So we had all of our like criminal justice procedural teams like felony traffic stop, search and seizure, how to clear a building. We had our EMT competitions, and then forensics. And so they brought something like 38 kids, and I may be a little off on the numbers, but like 28 of them are advancing to state. So they did really, really well. I brag on this student all the time. He was in my classroom when he was in 8th grade, and now he's teaching these students. Huge passion for law enforcement, and he is doing an incredible job. This is one of the things that shows is that he has a passion for it. It transfers to the students, and they went, and I think his post said they showed up and showed out. So these kids have really done a great job. But SRT is one of the small factors within that pathway.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also wanted to just mention, so that could be affirmed, they also work at our football games and with our security officers, right? So they're gaining experience, but they're also contributing.
Yes, that is. And then when we have other events, we ask them if they would be willing to just kind of, just be extra sets of eyes, either around campus or, the parking lots and things like that. And that just goes down into some service hours, extra training. Thank you.
President Bashir, these are future Nacogdoches Police Department and county police officers that are in training, and there's quite a few of them. So that's an area that we need to grow, and it's exciting to see them picking that field. So.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Eberlein. Back again. No, it's audit engagement letter for 2024-2025 fiscal year, and presented by Mr. Eberlein.
Yes, sir. So it feels like we just got done with the audit, but here we are about to turn right around and start another one. Presented in front of you is our estimate and engagement letter from Crow, who is our used to be Belt Harrison preacher, but they are now Crow, and their fees are there, and this is just an audit engagement letter saying that they are willing to provide us services if we wish to do so. And we do. I had a great time working with them. They were wonderful to work with, and they were very, very nice.
Okay. Any comment, any questions?
Is their price going to be nice too, or?
It's relatively similar to last year, so price, I would say, is nice. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Next is a submission of remote conferencing and home bonding instruction waivers for TEA. Dr. Hill, Assistant Superintendent.
Good afternoon, President Nuramon, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Trujillo. I would like to ask Ms. Joyce Garcia, the District's 504 Coordinator, to come and discuss this with you.
Good afternoon, President Nuramon, board members, and Superintendent Trujillo. So we are here today to seek approval for a remote homebound instruction waiver for a high school student who, due to a medical condition, will remain hospitalized out of town for the remainder of the school year. So this student does qualify for remote homebound instruction under Section 504 due to their documented medical condition that prevents in-person attendance. The approved waiver will not only allow the district to provide the remote instruction to ensure the student remains engaged in her education, but it will also allow the district to continue, allow for the student to count in attendance or to generate attendance for funding purposes. So per TEA guidelines, they're requiring the district to obtain board approval first before we formally request this waiver, request with TEA. Thank you. Any questions?
There's no question, but please tell the parents that her and the parents are in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Martin, are you ahead of me?
Just a tad.
Okay, at this time we have 4 items for discussion and action portion. First is reading of TASB Policy Update 124. Mr. Michael Martin, Deputy Superintendent, present.
Thank you, President Nurimon, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. Texas Education or Association of School Boards Policy Update 124 includes revisions to policies that we have listed here. Although the legal policies are included in this policy manual update from TASB, only the local policies are to be considered for approval by the board. Board, we would be happy to answer any questions that you may have about any of the policies located for update 124.
Personally, I have not been able to read 751 pages.
President Fashid, if I might summarize, just so as you're reviewing this, on the bottom of each policy, at the very bottom, you're going to notice the letter X and the letter A. It says local, and it's followed by a letter. Each one of those letters, whatever letter is there, we're paying money for a letter. And sometimes it's no more than just a transitional word of maybe the word and was added to the policy, and we're paying TASB more money for that word and. So anything that we added to the policy that goes beyond the original language of policy that TASB provides, we pay more money for it. So we sat down with TASB. Matter of fact, it was the entire team sitting down, went through the entire policy. It was enlightening, and I'm not going to put them on the spot, but there are some policies that were actually in place whenever our CFO wasn't even born, or maybe he was 2 years old. So we needed to address some policies that were there, because if we didn't address those policies, we're not really touching and updating our daily procedural items, and things have changed. So that's basically, when you look at the policy, it's just what is the practice today? What are we doing to meet the needs of our students? And also, are we paying more money? Are we being fiscally irresponsible by paying for a few letters in a policy whenever it reads the same if you remove punctuation or a transitional word in the policy? So you'll see that some of it also is just lengthy. I love to talk, and I sometimes talk in circles. And I sometimes can say it in one sentence, but I choose to say it in 30 minutes. That's what we also do in policy. We also can say it very clearly in a brief way, but it summarizes it. That we did a great job, and I'm proud of our team to spend the time to look at the entire policy. That's why you're looking at a huge line of changes that are there. Mr. Martin, I don't know if you'd like to add anything else to it.
Oh, sure. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I wanted to
Actually,
say something to correlate with that, because when I was reading this, however 700 pages or whatever it is, it said that the superintendent, upon being selected, elected by the board, immediately has the authority to run the district. Yeah. And how could we have that where it didn't say that before? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Board?
Anything to add, Mr. Martin?
No, sir. I'm going to wait for the next one.
Board, if they're willing to put this as a consent agenda for board.
Is this the first reading?
This is first reading.
First reading.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with it.
Sir?
That's fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's fine.
Goes consent for consent. Next is first reading of addition, revision, deletion of local policies resulting from the policy review session.
Thank you, President Nurimon. Members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. The administration, the cabinet sat down with TASB's Policy Services Representative Chris Train on January 22nd and 23rd, and we went through a number of board policies that, as Dr. Trujillo mentioned, were either outdated, needed some extra language added, or some or some deletion, language deleted. It also gave us an opportunity to evaluate our practices versus what's in policy. This was very important for us to do because, as Dr. Trujillo mentioned, it has been a very long time since we've had our last policy review. And so we are very thankful that we got the opportunity to take a look through these policies And also, as Dr. Trujillo mentioned, at the bottom of, the left-hand bottom of the page, if it is an X policy, it is a TASB originally recommended policy, basically. And, I'm sorry, if it's X, it is a policy that we have changed versus TASB's recommendation. So those X's cost us, the district, additional money, and we were able to eliminate quite a few or either change those policies back to the original TASB recommendation. With that, we will answer any questions that the board may have with regards to policy specific.
The district holds a printed copy available, and it's also on the computer as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's a district copy at the district support center over there. It's full of blue pages, very thick binder. Ms. Anderson maintains that binder right now.
Okay, board, any questions?
Yes, I wanted to say something because this is very important with what's going on in our country. So they talked about the CREW Act, or it's called the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act. And this is providing for people that are employed, like I guess it would be National Guard, Texas National Guard, that they will be appropriately treated by us. We want to be in alignment so that if they're called off, that they're properly handled with their finances and their time off and all those things. So I think there are many examples. I just flipped over because I had doubled over the pages, and that's what first one I came to. So I just see that this is all improving what we need to be in updating to reality and what we can do best for helping our not only us here in Nacogdoches and our students, but in our state.
Yes, sir.
Board, if there's any more comment, is there any objection to put that on the consent agenda as well? Ms. Anderson? Okay, next we move to item C, which is consideration of and board action on targeted improvement plan for Brooks Quinn Jones, Emmeline Carpenter, and Mike Moses Elementary Schools. And Dr. Kimberly Welsh would present.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and President Nerman and Dr. Trujillo. The School Improvement Division at TEA has released a list of campuses that are receiving a federal identification label of comprehensive support and improvement. Brooks Quinn Jones, Emmeline Carpenter Elementary, and Mike Moses Elementary were identified. And in an effort for continuous improvement, all three campuses have been required to complete an effective schools framework overview with the leadership team, to participate in an effective schools framework diagnostic, create a targeted improvement plan, we refer to that as the TIP, and engage with a vetted improvement partner, which is Region 7. And for your consideration and approval, we have submitted all three campuses' TIP plans, their targeted improvement plans. And as you can see, it is utilizing the Blue Bonnet curriculum for reading and for math for the upcoming school year.
Okay, board, questions?
How does this differ from what the other elementary schools will be doing next year?
It does not. All 5 elementary schools will be utilizing Blue Bonnet learning. Our goal is to have a guaranteed curriculum across all campuses.
Mm-hmm. But this intervention plan doesn't differentiate from the way the other schools will be implementing the program?
No, they will have continuous support and they will have to have a fidelity of implementation guide, but it will be something that will be expected of all 5 campuses. It's just that TEA has to track these 3 campuses for doing it.
Okay, thanks.
Again, if there is no objection, we can put that on the consent agenda as well. Okay. Item D is consideration of the board action on Fredonia Elementary Childhood Center Playground Project. Mr. Martin?
Thank you, President Nerman, Board. Dr. Trujillo, the Fredonia Early Childhood Playground remains unfinished and presents safety hazards for students. The project must be prioritized to ensure compliance with safety regulations and to provide a secure play environment. The remaining work includes essential surfacing, installation, and modifications to existing structures that do not currently meet compliance standards. The scope of work here includes completing the playground surface with a cohesive design to maximize coverage, reworking a portion of the existing concrete curb to ensure compliance with accessibility standards, installing necessary drainage solutions to prevent long-term issues, and completing the installation of ramp and turnaround pieces if they have not already been received. So, Board, we thought we would show you a photo of what that playground space looks like over there at Fredonia. Right now, you can see we have the security fencing around it. No children are allowed or able to play on this. It is out of compliance with accessibility standards. Here is another shot of that playground. You can see that there's gravel and rocks all on the surface. That is actually supposed to be a play surface, and not rocks like that, a danger to students. This is an ADA playground. This is for our students with special needs, wheelchair accessibility to this particular playground piece here. You can see that at the bottom, there's no way you're going to get a wheelchair up this ramp, so there are some ramping pieces missing. As well, the surface area, you can see is rock and gravel again, that we would need to have replaced. The budget impact of this to finish this project is $105,950.20. We'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir.
This project was funded fully.
Sir?
It was funded fully.
Yes, previously, yes, sir. It was funded fully through ESSER funds. Yes, sir.
Okay, so why are we behind?
If it pleases the chair, I'd like to bring Mr. Ralph LaRue up as well.
Okay.
Moral support.
It rolls downhill.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Board, and Dr. Trujillo. Yes, this was fully funded before. However, let me give you a little background on what has happened. We started with a playground vendor that we have used in the past for the original Fredonia playground when we redid the school, and for Mike Moses. However, their installer came from out of town, got sick, and passed away. His family had to be called. The second installer set one of the playgrounds 6 inches too high, changing the unit from accessible to non-accessible. As you saw, the ADA is not compliant. The playground company owners got divorced. The wife got the company, husband stopped paying for the lease and for the excavation equipment, so that equipment got repoed. A lot of tragedy.
From the job site.
From the job site. We called the new owner only to be told that she was in the process of moving herself and her children out of their home and into an apartment where they would be on their own. After meeting with several playground companies, we have found one that was willing to take over the half-finished playground. The original budget was $240,000. We put down a $100,000 deposit. If you have any more questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, Beth, Ms. Beth, the question, or I can't remember who just asked the question.
Coach Norman?
I did.
Coach Norman. To add to this is when you have a company file for bankruptcy, then whatever monies have been paid, and that's when Ben, our CFO, got the letter and said that the company has filed for bankruptcy. So at that point, that's all those funds that we paid are they're gone. They're out there with the bankruptcy. So we still have a playground that has not been fully installed. So I just wanted to make sure to add that as well.
So can we not come up with a check
on people that we don't need to continue to do business with if they're gonna have issues? I mean, well, I mean, you know, but still, I mean, we're hearing it now, and it's been a long process.
We've done business with them in the past. They've done several playgrounds. They did the existing playground at Mike Moses. They did the existing playground at Fredonia, the first one.
We were very pleased.
Yeah, we've been very pleased with their work.
So,
Up to date.
am I to understand that we just made the down payment?
Yeah,
So we're spending about the same amount,
yeah,
basically, okay.
more or less.
All the equipments are available, just they need to do the groundwork, is that?
Primarily, it's the groundwork. The equipment that got set too high, we had to order a special landing and then a ramp, which will get it compliant so that it'll be wheelchair accessible. The company that's taken over the project, Cunningham, is a long-standing, second-generation playground company. I've worked with them for decades on other projects in other states. They're predominantly in the Northeast. So good, we have another company coming in that was willing to take over a very awkward situation because of the liabilities and fall zones, and you know, they're going to come in and rework somebody else's work, and then it becomes their work, and where do you draw the line on liability? And then also there's some material that's on site, some surface material that's on site that they've agreed to use, to utilize, rather than just throwing it away, which is kind of them, but there's a question of warranties and all that stuff that goes with it. So they've more than bent over backwards to work with us. Just been a real cluster.
So did they come up with a completion date for you?
They're waiting to get PO for starters, and then the completion date is 60 days out.
60 days.
I guess it's not an advice, maybe we don't have to give them all one money one time.
A pat on the back first, and then they'll give them
Thanks for doing this. I cannot imagine pre-K kids staring at play equipment with an orange wraparound, so thanks for
Right.
the photos also, because the way it's written out, I would not have conceptualized the situation. So thanks for the photos, but also those pre-K kids.
The ground
We're
is
teasing them.
It's,
That's
that's
a teaser
really
for sure.
heartbreaking.
And Ms. Pitcock, if you look at the picture, moms and dads are sitting in the car waiting to pick them up, and they've been looking at that for most of the year. So.
Yeah, this is, thank
I
God.
wanted to
This is
say,
complicated.
this is unfortunate, but we've made a good recovery, and we're not going to be damaged because that, basically, we gave our ESSER funds up for that. But what my concern is, what's the lifespan of the material itself that they play on, and then the surface that they play on? So there's two questions, because they're going to be different lifespans, right?
Yeah, the fall zone, the rubberized material that goes on the ground, its life expectancy is not the same as the play equipment. The play equipment will outlast it, and we'll have to replace it at some point. Because it's where where they land, it's where there's a lot of wear and tear, and it's got to be soft and pliable so that if they fall on it, it does its job.
So is this 5 years or 10 years?
Oh,
for
no,
the-
we
the
should get
soft
20
surface?
years out of this play equipment.
Okay, that's good. Okay, good.
Okay, any more question? Okay, if not, we'll go into closed session. The board will now conduct executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provision of Texas Open Meeting Act and as allowed by Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as the result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes into open session. The time is now 12:55. a little bit more, I say 12:56, and not be afraid of. What time do you think we get back, Dr. Trujillo?
Well, I would say 1:30.
Okay. Should be back by 1:30, okay?
No sooner than 1:30.
No sooner than 1:30.
That's a long.
there, is there anything you all wish to be on the agenda in the future? There is none. If it's not, I seek a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
A second.
Everybody in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We adjourn.